A lot of Marvel Rivals players are making some really easy to fix mistakes that are absolutely losing them the easiest games they could possibly have. Luckily though, these mistakes are really easy to fix, and I'll be talking about what they are and how you can implement them into your gameplay very easily. So the next time you play, you're going to win more games, have more fun, and just be a little bit less frustrated. Now, as I talk about these mistakes, I've got some juicy Punisher gameplay in the background. As a bit of a backstory, I'm currently gold in Marvel Rivals, and I'm ranking my way up. I'm playing entirely solo queue, so I've seen everything. I've seen the worst players, I've seen the best players, and I've seen the biggest mistakes a lot of newer players are making. The first mistake I'm noticing is people will lock the character that they've decided to play at the start of the match and then never think about changing their hero throughout the match. If you didn't know, you can freely choose your hero at any time after you die in Marvel Rivals, even in ranked, and there's no penalty for doing it. Now, changing your hero doesn't mean the current hero you're playing is bad, but it simply means that some heroes are better at doing some tasks better than others. Here's a good example. Let's say you're playing a defensive position, you've got to defend a point when you start a match. A tank like Penny Parker can defend a point really effectively because of her mines and web field and all the spider bots running around. So it's really good to play Penny Parker whilst defending. But when things flip around and you've got to attack that point, Penny Parker's a little bit more difficult to initiate and be the front line with, so somebody like Doctor Strange or Venom would certainly be more efficient at starting that initial attack. So you can start a game and choose your character based on what result you want, like what objective do you actually have to do. Thinking about that will help you decide which hero will do the job best, and you'll have a better time capturing objectives and winning more games. Now, you may also want to change heroes to help counter the enemies. Some heroes do a better job of countering other heroes. For example, let's say there's a really annoying tank that just keeps pushing into your team and is constantly getting healed by the healers. Well, picking a duelist like Scarlet Witch is a good idea because her damage is based on how much health an enemy has. If an enemy has more health, you'll do more damage. Scarlet Witch also has auto-aim basically, so she's a tank killer. If you really need to shut down a tank, then switching your hero to someone that can do it well like Scarlet Witch would make sense. On the other hand, let's say you've got, I don't know, a Luna Snow or Jeff the Shark at the back line of the enemy team constantly healing up your enemies and you just don't have a chance to kill anyone. Well, you could choose an assassin character like Iron Fist or Psylocke and sneak into the backline to target that healer specifically to help your game go a little bit better. Instead of picking one hero to main and sticking with that hero for the rest of the game, think about how different heroes could benefit you depending on who you're fighting and what objective you currently have. When you think about it like that, you're going to win far more games in Marvel Rivals. The next thing I'm seeing in Marvel Rivals is the payload mode, where you have to move the payload through the map. I'll see this in pretty much every game at this point, and I'm gold rank at the moment, so I'm sure things will get better once I'm platinum higher. But if you have to move the payload, that's your objective, you need to stand around it. In fact, the more players you have on the payload at once, the faster it will move through the map, meaning you can complete the game faster and have a higher chance of winning. So if you get a squad wipe, you need to have all of your team on that thing to get it moving as quickly as possible. And unless there's a bunch of AoE attacks and spells coming down on the payload, you should have as many players on it at all times anyway. I see a lot of people trying to chase kills and they'll leave the payload and it will just get stuck there. It won't move on its own unless there's players nearby it. This kind of leads into the next point. It's kind of like a two-parter in a way. Focusing too much on kills in Marvel Rival is not going to help you win games. It can be fun to hunt down kills, and if you want to play that way, then sure, I'm sure you can get fun out of it. But if you want to win more games, killing the opponents is supposed to be a way to get yourself room to complete the objectives. And sometimes you don't even need to kill enemies to win the game. Look, I'm not saying that you shouldn't go for kills here. Going for kills is going to help you have a team advantage. 6v5 is easier than 6v6, and then it snowballs. And then you can potentially kill a bunch of enemies and potentially even squad wipe, and then catching the objective is so much easier for sure. But once you've got that objective and you're holding it, you don't need to go and leave the objective to go and hunt more kills. Got to stay alive, deal damage, and most importantly, keep that objective rolling so you can win the game. Another thing that I'm noticing a lot of players struggling to do is focusing the right target. This is mostly aimed towards the duelists. I think it's the duelist role to try and pinpoint and target the right people, and if they don't do a good job of it, they're going to struggle to help the team win. I think the main issue comes from a lot of new players jumping into this genre, not really having too much experience with the flow of gameplay. They'll shoot everything in front of them, trying to do as much damage as they possibly can, but won't get many results from it. And the reason is simple. A good tank will throw themselves into the front line, into the action, putting their body right up in the duelist's face. A beginner duelist, their first reaction will be to shoot that tank as much as humanly possible, but the tank won't die because he's got sustain abilities and a healer healing him from the back. So as a duelist, you need to try and think about where the healers are. So as the duelist, try and focus on where the healers are, where the strategists are, where the duelists are, and kill those first. The best thing to do is first kill the healer, because the healer is going to keep the rest of the team alive. Next, once you've killed the healer, you can focus on the strategists, because they've got no healers to keep them alive, and then you can deal with the tanks. And you can take it even further. You can look at the scoreboard and see who is getting the most kills on the enemy team. If you're noticing someone is just way too strong, and they are basically carrying the enemy team, you can then choose your hero, pick an assassin duelist like Iron Fist or Psylocke, or maybe even Hela or Hawkeye, who can do a very good damage long range, and then specifically target that player who's on a killing spree with a bunch of kills, shut them down until they've died a few times, and you'll realize with them out of the picture, the rest of the team isn't really able to keep up because that one player is carrying so much of the team's weight that if you target that specific player, you're going to have a much better time. You can use movement and travel through the map to get good angles on enemies. You don't always have to just constantly pick the same angle. Think about how you can move around the map to get sneaky little angles to take out the specific players you want to as a duelist, and that will really help situations where there's a bit of a standstill. The next thing is you need to understand the backline and front line of a fight in Marvel Rivals. If you're a tank, you want to be in the front line. You want to be up close on the enemy team and putting yourself first, right? Because you got the most health, you're the hardest to kill. You want to be there, allowing the pushes to keep going. And if you're playing tank, that should be your number one focus. If you are behind your teammates, you're playing it wrong. If you're playing duelist, then you kind of want to be in the middle. You want to be behind the tanks, being able to deal enough damage on enemies, but making sure that you're still able to escape if you need to, and making sure you know where your healers are so that they can heal you if necessary as well. And then finally, the healer. Usually the healer is the most important thing to keep your team alive, right? They can dish out tons and tons of heals. If your healer dies, things get very, very difficult. So your role as the healer is to try and not die as much as humanly possible. Do whatever you can as a healer to stay alive so that you can constantly provide your teammates with heals, which means usually you need to be at the back line. You need to be at the very back of your team, but not too far back though, because then assassins could come and find you and it would be very easy for you to die. The next thing is to think about when to use your ultimate. Most people will just pop their ultimate as soon as it's available, which becomes a bit of a problem because whilst different ultimates activate at different times, usually it happens where a lot of ultimates are available at just about the same amount of time. So if everyone pops their ultimate all at once on both teams, nothing really happens. You should try and time your ultimate to get the most amount of usage possible. It's really important that you make it a pivotal moment in gameplay. Your ultimate can change the flow of gameplay no matter who you're playing. So think about when to use it and why you want to use it. What goal are you going to get out of using your ultimate? If you're just going to press it for fun, then maybe have another think about it before you click that button. On the other side, don't wait too long to use your ultimate, because if you do, you can't charge another one. You can only use one ultimate before the next one starts charging, so the sooner you use it, the sooner you can use your next ultimate. So try to use it fairly quickly, just maybe not immediately without thinking. The next thing is being stubborn about who you're playing and sticking to it no matter what. Everybody wants to play duelist, but sometimes you can't. Sometimes you have to play support or tank. If everyone is stubborn about playing duelist, you're just going to have a 6 duelist team and you're going to struggle. The way that I personally do it, because I'm a duelist main, what I'll do when I play ranked is I will select duelist, I'll lock in my character, and I'll wait till the timer reaches 0. And if I notice that nobody has swapped out to the other roles, during the countdown timer before the game starts, and we're in the hero select area, I'll change my character to a support. Now, I'll usually play 2 or 3 games like this, and then after that, I'll be like, right, that's it. That's my turn. I'm going to hard lock the duelist now. And I think if everyone played like that, if everyone had 2 or 3 games where they were flexible with who they played, and then the next game they played duelist, it would be a better place. So yeah, sometimes you just gotta let yourself play a different role. And playing other roles can still be fun. You can still be the kill leader as Jeff the Shark or Groot. I've seen it happen so many times. So don't think that tank or strategist in this game is boring. You can do a lot of awesome things and have some very awesome plays. So definitely give it a try. This next mistake is something that definitely ruins the flow of your gameplay. You may feel like you're winning and then you lose because of this. What happens a lot in this game with newer players is the moment they die, they'll just run straight back into the action without thinking about what's really going on. Yes, you want to get back into the action as quick as possible, but if you die and then run back there, die again, and keep doing that, you're creating a bit of a pattern and a problem. You're going in alone, and you're not waiting for your teammates to respawn and going in with them. Sometimes you've got to take a moment to let all of your teammates respawn and push together as a unit, otherwise you're going to really struggle. If you have 2 or 3 players that just keep going in at different timings, you're just basically going 1v1 against a whole squad of 6. So be a bit patient, wait for your other teammates to respawn first, and then go in together. It's not going to lose you time or lose you games if you do it like this, and you're going to have a better chance at taking objectives. And then the final mistake I have is people take it too seriously. I know that this is probably going to end up being a competitive game, and I know there's a ranked mode already, but that doesn't mean you can't enjoy yourself and have fun. People are getting way too sweaty and worked up about whether or not their teammates are doing well, blaming in chat when their teammates die too much, and just getting a bit too angry. If you play like that, firstly, you're going to play worse because you're not in a good mood. Your teammates are going to play worse because they're in a bad mood now as well. And your enemies are probably just going to play even better because they're going to be laughing at you as you are spamming in side chat telling your enemies how bad your team is. Best thing you can do is just try to play to the best of your ability. Sometimes it will feel like there are players on your team that just aren't really doing much of anything, but in that case, you just got to let it pass. It can't be helped. And if it really is that much of a big issue, then the best thing you can do is try and add the people that you play well with, and then you won't have to have bad teammates anymore. So there it is, all of the biggest mistakes players make in this game and how to easily avoid them. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the comments. Cheerio.